Welcome back to Mr. B's math class. Today we're looking at 2.3 proportional reasoning. So our two outcomes for today are one, I can solve problems using proportional reasoning, and I can solve proportional reasoning problems using more than one method. So remember, by the end of this lesson, you want to be able to say those things. If you can't, you need to make sure you take a look at the lesson again or come see me tomorrow for help. Well, the first question we've got to ask ourselves is, what is a proportion? Well, it's a relationship that says that two or more ratios or two or more rates are equal. That's it. So in our question here, we have 2 over 3 equals 6 over 9. Well, we know the 6 over 9 is equal to the 2 over 3 because they're both multiplied by the same number, right? 2 times 3 equals 6, we're good. 3 times the exact number on the top, which was 3, equals 9, so we know they're equal. This is just a bigger version of that. Just multiplying up. And you could potentially keep going if you wanted to, as long as you multiplied both the top and the bottom by the same number. So how do we solve a proportion problem? Well, our example of right now will be 4 over 2 equals something over 30. There's a couple of steps to solving these problems, and step 1 says that use multiplication or division to find the relationship between the known values. What I mean by that is, we know the denominator of both fractions. We know this one's 2 and this one's 30. So using what we said before, all we have to do is ask ourselves, what number multiplied by 2 gives us 30, right? 2 times what gives us 30? Well, when we do some trial and error, we could say, okay, you know what? 2 times 15 will give us 30. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 times 15. Step 2 says, apply the multiplication or division to the missing value. Well, on the bottom, we found out that 2 times 15 equals 30. Well, we do the same thing at the very top. So 4 times 15 equals 60. And the last step is just fill in the missing value, which is 60. We're done. Right? When you look at it, 2 times 15 gave us 30, and 4 times 15 gave us 60. These are both equal. 4 over 2 to 60 over 30 is equal, therefore it's a proportion. Okay, so we have our first example, which is 2 over 3 equals something over 15. So what you can do right now is pause it, do the work for yourself, and then play when you want to see the solution. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do in this question is follow step 1, which says use multiplication or division to find the relationship between the known values. Well, in this case, our known values are 3 and 15. So we need to figure out what the relationship is between those values. So we're going to ask ourselves, 3 times what will give us 15? When we do the work, we're going to figure out, okay, 3 times 5 will give us 15. So we're going to multiply, just put that there for ourselves. Step 2 then says, use that same relationship to find the missing value. So we'll times 2 by 5. And when we do 2 times 5, we know that that's actually going to end up giving us 10. And there we go, we got our answer. So really the important thing to remember here is just whatever you do to the bottom, you do it to the top. It's always the same. So we times the bottom by 5, we times the top by 5. Same thing. And our answer is 10 over 15. To double check our work, we can just say, okay, 3 times 5 got us 15. 2 times 5 gets us 10. Yes, we've got the right answer. Let's check out example 2, which says 12 over 16 equals something over 4. So again, give it a pause and play when you're ready to watch the solution. Okay, so same as before. Let's use our multiplication and division to find the relationship between the known values. Well, because this is a bigger value here, we're going to do some division instead. So we're going to ask ourselves, 16 divided by what gives us 4? When we do that math in our head, we know that 16 divided by 4 will give us 4. So we can just divide that by 4. And whenever we do it to the bottom, we've got to do it to the top. So we're just going to divide this by 4 as well. 12 divided by 4 is going to give us 3. So when we rewrite our answer down here, 12 over 16 equals 3 over 4. And that's it. The easy peasy part is just doing whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Divided by 4 gave us 3. We can check our work again just in case. So 16 divided by 4 gives us 4. And 12 divided by 4 gives us 3. Once again, we have the right answer. Let's try another one here. 3 over something equals 18 over 24. So again, give it a pause and play when you want to watch the solution. Alright, so same thing as before. We're going to use our known values. And in this case, they're the top numerators here, so 3 and 18. So we're going to ask ourselves, 3 times what gives us 18? 3 times what gives us 18? Well, when we do that work, we're going to figure out, oh, you know what? 3 times 6 is going to get us 18. So times 6. And whatever we do to the top, we do to the bottom. So something times 6 gives us 24. Now that's a bit more work for us if we wanted to do it that way. We could just say, okay, what times 6 gives us 24. We could do it like that and then go through our math read, which would be okay. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 equals 12. 3 times 6 equals 18. 4 times 6 equals, okay, there we go. So we know which one it was. It's 4. So that we can do it that way. The other way you could do it is just start with your big numbers, and we could have divided by 6 instead. So we could have started here and said 18 divided by what gives us 3. 18 divided by 6 gives us 3. We do the opposite down here as well. 24 divided by 6 equals 4. Again, both methods will work. Either way, whatever works best for you. So you could use division and just always start with your bigger numbers, or right to left and work with multiplication. It's up to you. So the final answer would be 3 over 4 equals 18 over 24. And we check our work. 3 times 6 equals 18. 4 times 6 equals 24. And we got it. Okay, here we have a bit of a trickier question, because now we got a 3-part proportion here. We got something over 20 equals 4 over 5, which equals something over 30. To solve these, it's the same thing as before, just break it down into two first. So for me, I want to start with just these 2 first. So I've got to ask myself, 20 divided by what gives me 5, or 5 times what gives me 20? Either way, I'll start dividing. 20 divided by 4 will give me 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And what divided by 4 will give me 4? Well, I know that's going to be 16. So now I know that this is 16 over 20 equals 4 over 5. Now we work with the next part. So we are going to ignore the first half now. So we're going to ignore this and just work with this side now. So we'd ask ourselves, 5 times what gives us 30? Well, 5 times 6 will give us 30. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. 4 times 6 should give us, 4 times 6 will give us 24. So our new answer is 4 over 5 equals 24 over 30. And that's it. So the only thing to remember about these questions is just chunk it. So pick 2 to start with. So we want to do these 2 first. Start with those. Work your way to the next one. What you have to remember is they are a little different. Here we couldn't have done the same. I couldn't divide it by 4 to this one as well, because 20 divided by 4 will not give me 30. You have to work in chunks, right? You could have started with these 2 if you really wanted to. It doesn't matter. We have to chunk it. Okay, quickly here, one side note before we stop for the day. The question came up was, what happens if 2 numbers don't go evenly into each other? So using our method from before, we always ask ourselves the relationship. Well, 5 times what got us 24? Well, in this case, we don't know, because when we do our numbers, 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 was 10. Times 3 was 15. Sorry about the messy writing here. Times 4 was 20. And times 5 was 25. Well, none of those are 24, so we know that it's not going to work nice and easy like we want it to. So how do we solve it in this case? Well, there's 2 ways. The first one, you can convert the known fraction to lowest terms. When you look at this, we know right away that's not lowest terms. So we can break that down to the lowest terms here by dividing them both by 5. 5 divided by 5 would be 1, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. Then using those lowest terms, now we try to solve the ratio. So we just put 1 over 6 equals 24 over question mark. We know what it is. Now we can try to solve our old way. So 1 times what gives me 24? Well, we know 1 times 24 gives me 24, so I apply that to the bottom as well. 6 times 24 equals, and we look at it, 144. So we know right away that it's actually 144. We're good to go. You can also solve it a second way, but just by dividing the known values. So here we could just do our old-fashioned way. So we can ask ourselves, 24 divided by what gives us 5? Well, we can easily do that by saying 24 divided by 5 is 4.8. So now we know the relationship between these two numbers is 4.8. So really, like it says over here, 5 times 4.8 gives me 24. So 30, doing the same to the bottom, times 4.8 gives me 144. And that's it. Now I know this might be quite a bit to handle all at once, and that's okay. If you're having a bit of trouble, see me tomorrow in class, and I'll go over a little bit more of this on the board tomorrow just because I know that this is a bit to handle in one lesson. Other than that, that's it for today, and I'll see everybody tomorrow.